Hey again everybody, this is Fazed, and today we're taking a look at the eVic from JoyeTech. I apologize in advance, this is going to be a long review because there is a lot to talk about here. This is a very technical, advanced vaporizer. There are a lot of things going on in here. This is the first commercially available e-cig that you can control with your computer. You can upload and download different things back and forth using JoyeTech software. It's called My Vapor Record software. There's a very complicated menu system in here that we're going to go over. And this device will tell you a lot of things about your vaping habits if you want to know them. And you can do a lot of other things in here as well. We're going to take a look at a lot of these features and a lot of the things that this thing can do, and a lot of things that it really can't do. It's a neat idea. We're going to talk about some of the limitations of it, and we're going to get into some of the menu functions and things like that. So let's not waste any time. It's going to be pretty long, and let's get right into some of the menu functions. Okay, I'm going to do my best to try to go over the menu system of this device. First of all, when you get it or change the battery, you have to turn it on. So 5 clicks will give you the menu. It says power on. You get the JoyeTech logo and the time and day and my name, because I did put that in the thing. Text the atomizer, recommends a power, and then shows you your settings. Now I have upgraded to the version 1.1, so this is a little bit different, and we'll go over that. Alright, 5 clicks. We'll get you into the menu system, and you have sleep, power off, vapor set, standby, calendar, puff info, device, and exit. Alright, well we don't want it to sleep, but we can do some things in the sleep menu. Obviously this was turn it off. That puts it in sleep mode, and it comes back on. Alright, so go into that. We don't want to turn it off. Let's go into vapor set. This is a new one. So we can go to battery. You can switch between the 2600 milliamp hour battery or the 2200 milliamp hour. It comes with the 26. I think it should automatically find this for you. I don't understand why it asks, but click the button to get out of it, and then you have to go down to exit. But let's do this first. We'll go to switch. One of the new revisions to this is you can go variable voltage adjust, or now you can choose variable wattage adjust, and you can do it on the fly. And we'll show you that. Get out of it. Alright, so I'm at watts. Well, I can go down and I can go up. But it's only going to let me go up so high because based on atomizer resistance, the most this device can give me right now is 8.3 watts. So it's not going to let you go any higher than that. So if you set it at 10 or you set it wherever you like it, it'll display that, but it won't give it to you. You have to, if you go down and you actually scroll, the most I'm going to get out of this right now is 8.3 watts with this resistance. Now if I change the resistance of my atomizer, I'll have more of a range. But with a standard resistance 801 Fusion that I have in here, 8.3 watts is the most I'm going to get. Let's go back into here. Whoop. Alright, other things. Okay, we talked to switch. If we go into variable voltage mode, exit, and then go back to exit again. Now I can switch voltage up and down. 5 volts doesn't go up, and it goes down to 3. And it does not round robin, and it does not hold and scroll. Just keep that in mind, that it's kind of tedious. But for 3 to 5 volts, or up to 11 watts now. Okay, here is one other real quick update that they did, and I just wanted to show you this. If you click this 3 times quickly one direction, it will actually scroll until you stop it. So there it goes up. So it does kind of scroll now, so that's kind of cool. And it also works in wattage mode. You do it 3 times fast the direction you want to go, and then once to stop it. and then 3 times fast in the other direction to go up to the top. So another feature of the update. Alright, there's my lower watt limit, 3 watts. And my upper limit is 11, or till it reaches the maximum output resistance. Again, 8.3 watts is the most I'm going to get. Back into the menu, 5 clicks. Alright, let's go down to standby. We can do a couple things in standby. We can set the screen to go dark after 15 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, or 2 minutes. I've got it set to 30 seconds. I think it's enough time to do what you want to do. And we're 3 minutes. You set it and then hit the button, and that sets it. You can go to System. You have everything from 3 minutes down to 60 minutes. I wish this had a off mode. I've got it set to 60, which is max amount of time, because I don't like to wake my device up after a certain amount of time. But 60 minutes is the longest you can get before it goes into sleep mode, and you have to turn it back on. And then you, of course, have to exit that menu. Calendar. You can show the time and date. It does read military time. It does not do AM and PM. Some people might have an issue with that. I personally, my job, we use military time, so it doesn't bother me. And it's Friday, 12/21/2012. So that's that. You can set the time, and then you just hit the button to do it. Set date, same way. Set year, same way. And then exit. Puff info. You can set the puffs. It's set to 1200. I guess this will give you a warning if you get that high. It'll tell you, hey, you're reaching your limit. I didn't mess with this setting at all because personally I don't care about a puff counter. Reset puffs. You can reset back to 0. So if you're starting your day or whatever, you can reset it to 0 and we want to know what you're doing. Total puffs of the device, 2119, or the total puffs I've taken on this device since I've had it. And then exit. Now, device. You can check your atomizer resistance. It's saying atomizer detecting 3 ohms. If there is no atomizer, it'll say no atomizer find. You can check the temperature. The current temperature, 29 degrees Celsius. You can set the alarm temperature, so if it gets to, I've got mine set to 37 degrees. If it reaches basically 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius, then it will give me the alarm and then exit. User info, I've got it set. They have to do this through the computer. It says Fazed, Mr. Fazed, and I'm 40 years old. Serial number, there's the serial number of the device. And then version, this is version 1.1, which I just downloaded today. And then exit. And then that's pretty much the menu system of this. So, I've got it set in wattage mode. This is the main working screen. On it you have your battery indicator, you have a visual dial-like look and the number that says your percent. You have your setting here, your up and down arrows, and then you have your number of puffs taken, number of puffs remaining. This does not show you atomizer resistance on this main screen. Kind of wish it did. That'd be nice to know. And it does not show you, anything else that's useful. This to me is irrelevant. I don't know why the Chinese are so interested in puff counters, but they are, and that's what they've given you. So that's pretty much the menu system and how to work the device. You have this button on the back here. That's your enter and fire button. Then this ring up and down. And then here, I don't know if you can really see it or not. Let me try to get it in the right light. You have a little cover here for your USB interface. It is a micro USB. Plugs into your computer that way. You can charge through it, and you can upload the new versions and your data to the computer from this. So, all right. Let's take a look at some of the pieces parts of this thing, and then we'll vape it, and I'll show you the numbers. Okay, here we have the eVic. It is aluminum, anodized or painted, not really sure. I guess it's anodized. You have the JoyeTech logo here on the bottom. You have a small vent hole. Bottom cap doesn't screw. It's not the best threading in the world, but it's not bad. Got a nice thick gold spring down here. It does come with a Samsung 2600 milliamp hour battery, flat top ICR battery, not IMR battery, but it's ICR battery. The tube does come loose, so you can exchange it for different colors if they become available. On the underside here you have the contact point, and it's sealed here. Here's the head unit. Now, you notice you have this recessed Ego style drip well and connection. You think, well, that's really cool that you have that, but how do you clean it? This does unscrew, and you can get down in there and with a paper towel or something and clean that out. And you can see you do have Ego threading here, and you have 510 threading here. So, you know, there you go. Now, something you will notice about this connection here is it's flat, which is great, because if you use a tank like a VV Nova or something like that, there isn't a big gap here. But you also notice you have these really nice big grooves for air channels. So if you do have a device that sits flush against the top of this, it's not going to be starved for air. You're going to get plenty of airflow through these 4 air channels here. One thing, it is Ego threaded, so a lot of your Ego devices will work, with one exception. While Kangers do fit on here, they do thread on because it does have outside Ego threading, and they do fit inside this well. They do not fit, or they do not fire without pulling a little bit on the post of the device, of the Kanger itself. You have to pull that positive post out just a little bit to get this to fire. So it's not completely fiddle proof. You can get a Kanger T3 or T2 to work. You just have to pull that center post out a little bit. If you switch devices, say you use it on an Ego C and then you move it to this, it won't work because it'll push that post back in. You get a pair of tweezers or something and just pull it out just a little bit, just so that it can make contact with this positive connection inside of here. Then it will fire on this device. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of people have reported already that the Kangers don't fire. Well, they do. You just have to fiddle with them a little bit to get them to work. All right. I have the Kanger attached to the eVic, and you can see when you push it, it says no atomizer find. All right. Well, that's the problem with these. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to pull the post on this thing. And basically what we're going to do is take a needle nose and just pull. There's a center post in here, and we're just going to pull that out a little bit. Just wiggle it out just a very little bit. Screw it back on. And now it works. So you can use the Kanger on these, you just have to fiddle a little bit. This is going to be a complicated look at the numbers, so instead of charting it out, I'm actually showing you my raw data. And what I want to do is basically I'm going to show you, I'm going to go over each piece of it, because there's lots to look at here, and it was really complicated to chart it out. I think it's better just to explain the data. So what we're doing is we have the eVic in voltage mode here, and we have the eVic in wattage mode here, and then we're using it with different batteries. We're using the Samsung ICR, which is supplied with the kit. We're also testing it with an AWIMR 2000 milliamp hour battery, and we're also testing it with a Panasonic CGR hybrid 2250 milliamp hour battery. And up here again is voltage mode, and you can see the Samsung battery, the AW battery, and the Panasonic battery. 3 volts, 3.5 volts, 4 volts, 4.5 volts, and 5. And then over here we're going to have some amp limit stuff, so we'll talk about that later. Alright, so set with a 1.5 ohm cartomizer at 3 volts, we're getting 2.88 volts, not bad. At 3.5 volts, 3.52, so pretty much accurate. At 4 volts, 3.4, and then 3.4, and then 3.5. So basically we've hit our amp limit here. The amp limit with that battery is 2.34 amps. Alright, 2.5 ohm single coil cartomizer at 3, 2.96, pretty accurate. 3.5, 3.44, pretty accurate. 4, pretty accurate. 4.5, it's pretty much spot on. And at 5, well, we're kind of starting to get some deficit here. So not quite as accurate at 5. Can't quite push it. All right, 3 ohms. Accurate at 3. 3.5 is pretty close. 4 is pretty close. 4.5 is not quite as good. And then 5, we're actually overshooting a little bit. So, you know, that's with the supplied battery. Now switching to the AWIMR battery at 1.5. 2.88, which is the same as the ICR. 3.5 is 3.44. At 4 it's spot on. At 4.5 up, we've hit our amp limit. So amp limit with the AW is 2.61, so a little better than the supplied ICR. Using the Panasonic 1.5, same 2.88 at 3, 3.44 at 3.5, spot on 4. A little bit better at 4.5, but not much. So we have a little bit higher amp limit of 2.72, which is higher than the rating that JoyeTech gives you. So using better batteries will give you better performance, although I don't know if you'll notice it. Okay, with the 2.5, the AW, pretty much spot on, pretty much spot on, pretty much spot on. Not quite as good at 4.5 volts. For some reason, at 4.5 volts for all of them, with the exception of the supplied battery, it's 0.2 volts off. And then back to 5 at 5 volts. 3 ohms, pretty close, pretty close, pretty close. Not really sure why it's not that close. And then pretty much right on. Using the Panasonic, pretty close, pretty close, pretty close, not so much, and pretty much spot on with a little bit of overshoot on the 2.5 ohm. So based on this alone, I would say, you know, you want to get the best performance out of the thing, use the Panasonic hybrid battery. Alright, now let's look at wattage mode. In wattage mode, we can set from 3 to 11 watts. At least that's what JoyeTech tells us. In actual practical application, yeah, not so much. I didn't even bother using the 1.5 ohm because the range of the device was so small it wasn't even worth doing. So we're going to look at the 2.5 single coil and we're going to look at the 3 ohm single coil. Alright, now you see asterisk here on the 2.5. Well, the reason there's an asterisk there, if we go over here, we look at the lowest setting achieved was 3.6 watts. The device will self-regulate based on its voltage limit from 3 to 5, so it can't go below 3 volts, so it's not going to give you below 3.6 watts. So that's why there's an asterisk there. So at 3.6 watts, it's giving you 3.5. At 5, it's giving you 4.73, so you get a 0.3 or so drop. At 7, you get a 0.6 drop. At 9, you got a 0.4 drop. And at 10, you get a half a watt drop. So that's with the standard, or the 2.5 ohm Cardo with the supplied Samsung battery. Now at 3 ohms, 3 is 2.92, so pretty close. 5 is 4.51, about a half a watt drop. 7 watts, you're getting 6.22, and at 9 watts, we got another asterisk here. Why do we have an asterisk? Well, at 9 watts, I can't go to 9 watts. The highest I could get was 8.3 watts, because then you hit 5 volts. So 7.68 watts is the best I could get with a 3 ohm Cardo using the supplied battery. Now with an AWIMR, again, now all of these have the same notations. Lowest I could get was 3.6, highest I could get was 8.3. So keep that in mind. If you have an asterisk here, there's a reason for it. So at 3.6 watts, I can get 3.5, so it's about the same. 4.73 is about the same. 6.4 is the same. 8.02, not quite as good as the supplied battery. And then 10.49 at 10, which is actually higher than your set wattage. And at 3 ohms, 2.92, 4.71, which is better than the supplied battery. Right about 6, which is a little worse at 7. And then again, you're limited here to 8.3 watts, which is 7.17, which is worse than the supplied battery. Using the Panasonic, again, there should be an asterisk here. There's not, but again, we're limited to 3.6 watts, and we're getting 3.36, which is not quite as good. 4.62, which is not quite as good. 6.4, which is the same. 8.02, which is the same as AW, but not quite as good as the supplied battery. And 10.48, which is about the same as AW. Using the 3 ohm resistance, 2.92, 4.5, so we're about a half a watt drop here, At 7, we're at 6.2, so 0.8 watts drop, and then here we're limited to the 8.3, which is the same as the AW. So we're not going to get quite as much wattage out of it using the AW or the Panasonic as we do using the supplied battery. To me, this makes no sense, because in voltage mode, these batteries perform better, and in wattage mode, the supplied battery performs better. So I don't know. So all right, last thing we'll talk about amp limit. It's rated at 2.2 amps per JoyeTech. Using the supply battery, I can get 2.3 using a 1.5 ohm dual coil. But using better batteries, I can actually get more amps. With an AW, I can get 2.6 amps, and with a Panasonic, I can get 2.7 amps. So just keep that in mind if you really want to push this device. Although I don't think you're going to really notice the difference. But if you want to really push it more, you can use different batteries, and it will perform better. So that's a look at the numbers. Sorry, no charts and graphs this time. It's kind of confusing. I hope that I didn't lose anybody with this. I tried to explain it the best I could using the raw data. Okay, here I have the eVic with a fresh battery. You can see it's 100%, set to 4 volts, and we want to see how accurate this device is on the scope. So I've got it hooked into my test box, and then I have it with a 3.0 ohm Cardo. So let's see, 4 volts. Well, we get a very interesting line. I think some other people have talked about how this thing isn't really accurate on their little inline voltmeters. Well, I think, and I don't know this for sure, but this is just my hypothesis, is that this is what's going on. You can see my voltage RMS is actually 3.92 volts, which is pretty close. But we have this really wide line here. And actually, the peak to peak on that is 2 volts. So there's a 2 volt fluctuation in here. So what is that? If we look in, we see, okay, now we're at 250 microseconds. You can see that it's fluctuating. So it's not a steady DC voltage. So I'm thinking that those inline voltmeters, they're just, they're not high tech by any means, are averaging that out, or maybe just seeing the low points or picking a point to sense in between here. I don't know, but I think that's where a lot of the inaccuracy comes from. So, when we come back into our 5 millisecond, we kind of got this straight line at 4 volts, but it's not really truly a straight line. Again, it's kind of sinusoidal or a triangle wave almost, really. So that, I believe, is why the little screw-in inline voltmeters aren't working. All right, it doesn't do this at every voltage, and this is what's interesting. Taking it down to the device's lower limit, 3.3 volts. We got pretty much a flat line. You can see that it's 3.28 volts here. It's pretty much a straight line. We zoom in on it. You know what? It's actually an actual DC straight line. So, not really sure what the deal is there, but all right. Now we're going to take the device to 5 volts, and we'll see what the 5 volt signal looks like. All right, with a 3 ohm Cardo at 5 volts. Let's see how we do here. Okay, you see we have this about 2.4 volt fluctuation, 4.88 volts here. And when we zoom in, we see we've got that kind of sinusoidal wave going on. Again, I think that's why our inline voltmeters aren't really reading it. So it's not a true DC current. It's boosting it. It's just not boosting it very pretty. So, yeah. All right, now we're going to take a look at it with a dead battery. Okay, lastly, I want to take a look at the device with 8% battery. It's nearly dead, and set to 5 volts, still with the same atomizer, and we're going to take a look at it on the scope and see how well it holds power. So let's just take a look at 5 volts. And at 5 volts, VRMS is 5.04 volts. So still seems to be holding output. Take it to 4 volts. .84 volts, and we see that it's still the same sine wave pattern there. VRMS is 3.84 volts. So it still holds. That's kind of cool. All right, here's something kind of cool. There's nothing attached to my test box. There's the eVic, and you push the button. It says 5 volts. No atomizer find. So it doesn't sense resistance. So when I was hooking this up, I had the oscilloscope on. Every once in a while, there it goes. Every once in a while, you see those little spikes pop up, and I think that's just sending a little bit of power to the atomizer connection, looking for resistance to sense it. But every once in a while, it looks. So anyway, kind of cool. Okay, I wanted to show you guys about the battery. I showed you that it holds its charge throughout the cycle, and I wanted to show you this, that it is 5 volts and 1% left on the battery. So looks like I have 8 puffs left. So I'm going to sit here and vape this thing till either gives me a low battery warning or it just shuts off or whatever it does. But 1% battery left. Hold it so you can see it. Whoop. And then it just shuts off. You can turn it back on. Power low. So there is no warning unless you're paying attention to the screen of whether or not this thing will shut off or not. But you know, once it's done. Tells power low, and that's it. Time to charge it or change the battery. Alright, so what does version 1.1 give you? Well, it gives you real-time variable wattage adjustment. We can change the power set like we did the voltage before, where we can use the scroll ring in variable voltage mode. Before, we can now do that with watts right from the main work screen. So that makes that easier. Real-time atomizer detection, so that it automatically detects resistance to guarantee that your wattage output is what you're actually setting it to. They've changed the wattage range from 3 to 15 watts to 3 to 11 watts. That way, you know, they're not promising you a wattage range that they can't deliver. Although using a standard resistance atomizer, I can't get above 8.3 watts. But you can adjust it up to 11 now. They give you the fast voltage wattage adjustment. Basically, if you turn the direction key 3 times fast, then the wattage will increase or decrease automatically fast. And then the warning for the temperature adjustment, you can actually set it, the alarm, to the temperature you want instead of just having that automatically set. So those are the updates for the version 1.1. Okay, when you bring up the MVR, My Vapor Record software, you get this little thing that says only charging, or see My Vapor Record. So we're going to do that. And JoyeTech has released an update so we can upgrade my e-cig. Let's do that first. Alright, as you can see on the screen, if you can see it, it says it's uploading. So there we go. And it says it is transmitted to the tool. So, and it's doing something here. All right, let's look at get data. Okay, from the home screen here we can get data from the eCig, which I've done. I can set my user information, which I put my name in here and my age, don't tell anyone, and you can modify that there. You can go to current status, which shows it's the eVic. I have already upgraded the software, so it's version 1.1, and the series number, I don't know if that's the serial number of the device or the series number of the program. Set puffs to 1200, not exactly sure what that is, and my total puff so far is 2076. I set my output power to 10. I did that on the device. Have yet to reach 10 watts, but you can set it. And my current voltage is set to 5 volts with 1.47 amp output and the 2600 milliamp hour battery that came with it. And you can change any of these settings by using the modify. Let's look at some statistics here. I've been playing with this, and I'm not exactly sure if it's because I upgraded the software or what, but it's kind of wonky a little bit. If you go to week, and you can go to puffs. Going to the third week here, it says, the 50th week, 682 puffs. Go to the fourth week, 1336 puffs. So not really sure what that is. Day, it shows you puffs per day. This is the day I got it was the 14th, so I did 178 puffs from the afternoon on. 504 puffs the next day. 318, 305, 337, 376, and then I haven't used it at all any today. So there's that. Voltage, it's not showing me anything. Same with resistance, but if I go to week, it shows most of my resistance is in the 3 to 3.3 range. And if I go to voltage, same thing. 4.9 to 5-ish is pretty much where I keep this device, because for me I like to do 8.5 to 9 watts, and I like my standard resistance atomizers, which is pretty much all I've been using so far, and not quite getting there watt wise, but this is as much as a device can give me, so that's pretty much where it's stayed. And you can look by month. If I had this longer, it may show more in the months, but here are all the different resistances and number of puffs that were used at that resistance. So for the month of December, which is where you set that right here. And of course we already went over upgrade my eCig, which we did. It's version 1.1. So that's pretty much a quick look at the software that comes with it. It doesn't really do a whole lot. The best feature obviously is this right here. When they fix something in the software and the firmware, you can upgrade it and go from there. Now this is a Windows machine. I don't have one of these. I'm borrowing this one, but to move it, you download a bat file and you move it. All is described on the JoyeTech website, but basically you have to move the bat file to a specific folder under the My Vapor record. It's the hex folder. So you'll move the bat file to the hex folder under My Vapor record, and then it will, when you click upgrade my eCig, if it sees a newer version, you just click that and it will upgrade your eCig for you. So that's pretty much it, looking at the software. Okay, so what do I think of it? Well, first of all, I'm going to vape it. What do I think of it? Well, I think it's a neat idea. I think it's a step in the right direction as far as for the people who, like me, like techie things, to be able to fine-tune our vape experience. Most of it isn't necessary. It's the glorified puff counter. I don't pay attention to it. I mean, I guess it's cool to see you're vaping over a period of time. But again, not necessary. My biggest complaint with this is the output. We looked at the numbers. It has the upper limit of 5 volts, which for me takes using standard resistance stuff off the table. because I like 8.5 watts to 9 watts. You can only get to 5 volts. For me, I need to be around 5.2 to 5.3 to be completely satisfied. So vape's a little anemic for me. On the wattage side, the update to the software took a lot of the wonkiness out, where you could set the watts through the menu system before, but it didn't. You couldn't change it without having to go back into the menu system. Well, now you can, so that's nice. However, also very, very limited. They took the 15 watt limit off and made it 11 watts, which is still, it's more reasonable for the output of this device, but still with the standard resistance Cardo, can't get anywhere above 8.3. That's my biggest complaint. Other minor things, make the well a little deeper so that it can take a Kanger without having to fiddle with it. The little bit of rattliness in the ring, and the inability to scroll up and down, having to hit the ring every time instead of being able to hit and hold. It would be so much nicer just to be able to hit and hold it, and it will go to wherever you want it to go. So, not a hill to die on, but it's, you know, something in future revisions. Joy, if you're watching, if you could fix that, that would be great. Else than that, let's talk about things that I do like. I like the fact that you can upgrade through the computer. I'm not a PC user. I use Macs, so I had to borrow a computer to do it. Hopefully Joy will release a Mac version soon. That would be great for the rest of us. But I understand why they did what they did. Most people don't use Macs. Most people use PCs. So release it with the ones that most people are going to benefit from. I get that. But a Mac version would be great. But I mean, I have access to a PC, so again, not a hill to die on. But it's cool to be able to upgrade my firmware as it becomes available. As JoyeTech irons out some of the bugs that they can fix through software, it's nice to be able to do that. It seems to be pretty well built. It's not very heavy, but even though it's not very heavy, it seems pretty, you know, durable. The LCD is very nice and easy to read. Price, about $104 what they're going for right now on a few sites that I've seen. Yeah, I would wait. I would wait till maybe they can increase the output of this device. Wait till, you know, they get some of the software bugs fixed, although you can upgrade later. I'd like to see it go to 6 volts. I'd like to be able to give me a true 11 or 12 watts without regulating down. If they could do that, I think this would be a great device. The other thing is, you know, even though they fixed a lot of the menu bugs with the new revision, it's still a kind of a wonky menu to get around. It's not, I mean, you learn it. It's kind of like when you first get a ProVaria, you're sitting there over pressing buttons and things like that. You get used to it, but it would be nice to be able to check things quicker than having to go into a menu, then exit that function, then exit the menu, and then turn it back on. Well, you're not really turning it back on, but pressing the button to see it again. So, you know, that kind of stuff would be nice if they could streamline that a little more. They've already streamlined it a lot from the first revision, from version 1. Adding the watts to be able to change watts on the fly is great. So overall, I'm not overly impressed, and I'm not underwhelmed either. For me, because I like standard resistance Cardos, specifically these 801 Fusions, this device isn't my favorite because it just can't give me the vape that I want. With a lower resistance Cardo, like a Bogue 2 ohm, like that, it's fine. I can get my 9 watts out of it, and I'm not, you know, it's satisfying that way. So it's not for everyone. So as long as you know your vaping habits, and if this is something that you're going to want to fiddle with, or if it's something that will fall within the range of what you like to vape, then by all means, give it a try. If it's something, you know, where you look at this review or whatever, and you look at it and say, well, you know, I really like standard resistance stuff too, and I really need to vape above 5 watts or above 5 volts, and I really want to vape above, you know, 8.5 watts, then maybe I'll pass. So You have to make that decision. I'm trying to give you as much information as possible so you can make an informed one. All right, there are several vendors that carry this. You can find it online. They'll be more readily available after the first of the year. So again, this is the eVic from JoyeTech. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you again soon.